There's a strange moment in life when you suddenly realize something terrifying. Most of the pain you carry is not caused by life itself, but by the stories you tell yourself about life. You suffer not because the world is cruel, but because the illusions inside you are louder than reality. And the worst part is, these illusions feel so natural, so familiar, that you don't even question them. You think they are the truth. But what if they're not? What if the reason you feel stuck, insecure, exhausted, angry, or constantly not enough is because you've been hypnotized by beliefs you never chose? What if your suffering isn't a sign that your life is broken, but that your mind has been chasing shadows, illusions that were never yours to begin with? Illusions about success, illusions about love, illusions about happiness, illusions about who you must be to matter. And perhaps the darkest illusion of all, the illusion that everyone else has it figured out except you. Welcome to Tomorrow Better Version. Where we take these illusions apart one by one, not to make life easier, but to make you clearer. Because the truth is simple. Clarity frees us. Illusion traps us. And today, you're about to see why. But before we go deeper, let me ask you something unsettling. If everything you believed about yourself was suddenly put on trial, how much of it would truly hold up under evidence? How much of your fear is built on assumptions? How much of your anger is built on misperception? And how much of your sadness comes from comparing your real life to someone else's highlight reel? We live in a world obsessed with certainty. Everybody wants to be right, to look right, to feel right. But the more desperately you cling to being right, the more wrong your life feels. And that's the first illusion that destroys us, the illusion of certainty. The belief that you must know who you are, where you're going, and what everything means. The belief that if you don't know, something is wrong with you. But uncertainty is not the enemy. It's the birthplace of discovery. And the moment you stop trying to be certain, you actually start seeing yourself clearly for the first time. The second illusion is the illusion of control. The idea that if you worry enough, plan enough, or fear enough, you can prevent bad things from happening. But the truth is, worry does not control the future. It only controls you. And the more tightly you grip life, the more life slips through your fingers. Then comes the illusion of perfection. You keep punishing yourself with unrealistic standards, believing you must be flawless to be worthy. But perfection is not a standard, it's a prison. And the moment you step out of it, you breathe again. But there's one illusion more dangerous than all the others, the illusion of special suffering. The belief that your pain is somehow deeper, your failures more embarrassing, your fears more shameful than anyone else's. This illusion isolates you. It convinces you that no one could possibly understand. But the truth is, your suffering is human, universal, shared, and the moment you stop treating it as a personal punishment, you begin to heal. All these illusions have one thing in common. They turn life into a constant battle. A battle to prove something. A battle to outrun something. A battle to pretend you're not breaking inside. But suffering doesn't come from reality. It comes from resisting reality. You feel lost because you're trying to hold on to illusions that were never meant to carry you. And when those illusions crack, you crack with them. But here's the twist that might shock you. The day your illusions collapse is the day your life finally begins. In the silence left behind, you see truth, simplicity, your real self. And that's what this video is about. Taking off the lenses that distort your world and make you believe you're failing at a game that was never real in the first place. If this message already touches something inside you, then don't forget to subscribe to Tomorrow Better Version to support the channel. Your support gives us the motivation to create more life-changing content for you. Now that we've opened the door to these illusions, let me ask you a small question, one that reveals more about your inner world than you might expect. Question: which truth feels more frightening to you? A, that you don't have control over everything in your life. B, that you never needed to control everything in the first place. Comment A or B below. I'd love to see your answer, and it helps others reflect on theirs too. We grow up believing that happiness is something we must chase, earn, or somehow unlock when life finally becomes perfect. We tell ourselves that once we earn more, achieve more, become more, then happiness will arrive like a gift waiting at the finish line. But real life doesn't work that way, and deep down, you already know that. Happiness has never come from comfort, from ease, or from a life free of problems. Happiness comes from solving problems that matter, problems that shape you instead of drain you, problems that connect you instead of isolate you, problems that make your life feel meaningful rather than empty. And this realization is one of the most liberating truths you can embrace. You don't need an easier life. You need better problems. Because no matter who you are, no matter how talented, successful, beautiful, wealthy, or gifted you become, you will always face problems. A person with no problems is not living. The only difference between a fulfilled person and a miserable one lies in the quality of the problems they choose to carry. That is where happiness grows or dies. Think about the times you felt most alive. It wasn't when everything was effortless. It wasn't when there was nothing left to do. It was when you were engaged with something meaningful, even if it was difficult. The late-night study sessions for a dream you believed in, the sweat you poured into a project that excited you, the emotional work you invested in someone you loved. Those moments weren't easy, but they made you feel awake, purposeful, human. And that's the secret most people miss. Meaningful struggle feels better than meaningless comfort. But the world teaches us the opposite. Social media glorifies lifestyles without effort. Advertising convinces you that real happiness comes from eliminating hardship. And slowly, you begin to reject anything uncomfortable, believing that difficulty is a sign you're on the wrong path. But difficulty is the doorway. Struggle is the sculptor. And the absence of struggle is not happiness, it's emptiness. People don't realize this, so they end up choosing the wrong problems. They pick problems built on comparison, ego, fear, or the pressure to impress others. Problems like trying to be liked by everyone. Trying to live a life that looks perfect instead of one that feels true. Trying to fill emotional emptiness with distractions, validation, or entertainment. These problems consume enormous energy but offer no meaning in return. They create anxiety, insecurity, burnout, and a constant feeling of not enough. And worst of all, they blind you from the problems that could actually make your life richer. So what are the right problems? They are the problems that align with your values. Problems that reflect the person you want to become. Problems that demand responsibility instead of avoidance. Problems that remind you of what truly matters, even when they hurt. The right problems push you to grow instead of shrink. They make you braver instead of more fearful. They make your inner world stronger instead of weaker. The truth is, you cannot choose a life without pain, but you can choose the pain worth enduring. And that single decision, choosing your pain consciously, is the beginning of adulthood, self-respect, and freedom. For example, love is a problem, a beautiful one. It requires communication, vulnerability, forgiveness, patience, and endless effort. But solving those problems brings connection, intimacy, and trust. Health is a problem. You have to exercise, discipline yourself, resist temptation, take care of your body. But solving those problems gives you energy, clarity, and strength. Purpose is a problem. You must face uncertainty, risk failure, dedicate years to something that may or may not work. But solving those problems gives your life direction and meaning. These are the problems worth having. And the more you accept this truth, that happiness is found in choosing the right problems, the less you fear discomfort. You stop asking, how can I avoid struggle? And start asking, which struggle is worth it? That question shifts your entire life. Because when you choose meaningful problems, the suffering attached to them becomes meaningful too. It transforms from something you fight into something you embrace. And suddenly, your life no longer feels like something happening to you, but something you are actively shaping with your own hands. This is why people who chase comfort are often the most unhappy. They spend their lives running from pain instead of learning from it. They look for shortcuts that never lead anywhere. And they try to solve their discomfort with temporary relief instead of lasting purpose. But people who choose meaningful problems, people who take responsibility for their own values, become grounded, resilient, and fulfilled. You cannot control whether life gives you problems, but you can control which ones you say yes to, and your yes determines everything. your identity, your relationships, your stability, your joy, your self-worth, your peace. So the question isn't, how do I avoid problems? The real question is, which problems are worthy of my life? When you answer that with honesty, your world changes. There is a moment in every person's life, quiet, uncomfortable, and deeply personal, when they finally realize that no one is coming to save them. No one is responsible for fixing their past. No one is obligated to clean up the damage left behind by their childhood, their heartbreaks, or their mistakes. And strangely, this realization feels both frightening and liberating. Because the moment you stop waiting for someone else to change your life, you finally gain the power to change it yourself. This is where personal responsibility begins, and it is here, not in comfort or certainty, that real freedom starts to grow. We often think responsibility is a burden, a weight forced upon us. But the truth is more surprising. Responsibility is not a punishment. It is the key to unlocking control over your own life. When you refuse responsibility, you remain stuck in the same loops of frustration, resentment, and stagnation. When you accept responsibility, you reclaim authorship of your life's story. And responsibility is not about blaming yourself for everything that has happened. It is not about guilt, shame, or self-condemnation. You are not responsible for the trauma you suffered, for the pain people inflicted on you, or for the chaos you were born into. But you are responsible for how you respond now, for how you choose to heal or avoid healing, for how you carry your scars into the world, whether as weapons or as lessons. That distinction is where maturity is born. This is where many people get stuck. They confuse fault with responsibility. Fault is about the past. Responsibility is about the future. Fault says it shouldn't have happened. Responsibility asks, what will I do now? When you stop fixating on who caused the pain and start focusing on who will transform it, you shift from victimhood to self-leadership. And surprisingly, taking responsibility does not trap you. It frees you. Because once you own your choices, your reactions, your values, and your behavior, nothing and no one can control you from the outside. If your happiness depends entirely on what others do, you will always be powerless. If your peace can be disturbed by anyone at any time, you will never feel safe. Responsibility protects your emotional world from the chaos of the external world. But many people avoid responsibility because it threatens their identity. It's uncomfortable to admit, maybe I played a role in this, maybe I could have done better. Maybe the problem isn't only out there, it's also in me. Yet this discomfort is transformative. It forces you to confront the parts of yourself you've been avoiding, the patterns you've been repeating, and the beliefs that keep you stuck. Responsibility demands honesty. It requires you to see your own fears, your own entitlement, your own insecurities, and your own excuses. And this is painful because it puts a mirror in front of you and says, look. But that same mirror also shows you something empowering, the possibility of change. If part of the problem comes from you, then part of the solution can come from you too. And that truth is power. The people who change their lives are not the ones born with the best opportunities. They're the ones who take ownership of the little they have and build from there. They don't wait for life to become easier. They learn to become stronger. They don't wait for the world to treat them better. They learn to treat themselves better first. They don't wait for answers. They start with action, even when they're unsure. And the small steps accumulate, creating a momentum that transforms their life from the inside out. Responsibility also transforms how you relate to others. When you take responsibility for your emotions, you stop blaming people for how you feel. You stop expecting others to fix your sadness, your anger, or your loneliness. And because you no longer demand that others carry your emotional weight, you become easier to love, easier to trust, and easier to be around. You stop turning relationships into battlegrounds of unmet expectations. You start showing up as someone who owns their truth, not someone who hides behind their wounds. And responsibility transforms how you handle failure. Many people avoid taking responsibility because they're terrified of being wrong. But the willingness to admit you are wrong is the foundation of all growth. When you take responsibility for your mistakes, you learn faster. When you take responsibility for your weaknesses, you improve them. When you take responsibility for your bad decisions, you develop wisdom. Responsibility turns failure from something to run from into something to learn from. Ultimately, taking responsibility is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming real. It's about standing in the center of your life and saying, "This is mine, and I will shape it." That decision is powerful. It shifts your identity from victim to creator, from passive to active, from reactive to intentional. Suddenly, your life is no longer something happening to you. It becomes something you actively build. Freedom doesn't come from avoiding responsibility. Freedom comes from embracing it. Because when you take responsibility for your life, you take back the power that fear, avoidance, and blame once stole from you. You gain the courage to choose your values, to face your problems, to rewrite your story. And that is the quiet, steady kind of freedom that stays with you, no matter what life brings next. There is a strange kind of freedom that appears the moment you finally admit, "I might be wrong." It sounds simple, even obvious, yet most people spend their entire lives defending their beliefs, as if losing an argument means losing a piece of themselves. We cling to our ideas, our opinions, our identities as if they are sacred. And the tighter we hold on to them, the more fragile we become. Because once you believe you already know everything you need to know, you stop learning. Once you believe your perspective is the only valid one, you stop growing. And once you believe you are unquestionably right, you become dangerously blind to the truth. Being wrong is not a failure. It is the starting point of wisdom. Every breakthrough in your life began with the recognition that your previous way of thinking was incomplete. Every transformation you've ever experienced started with a moment of humility. The belief that we must always be right comes from fear. Fear of uncertainty, fear of losing control, fear of being exposed. But embracing the possibility of being wrong doesn't weaken you. It strengthens you. It opens you to knowledge, to growth, and to the deeper realities you could never reach while clinging to certainty. The truth is this: your mind creates stories to protect your identity. It clings to what is familiar, even when the familiar is hurting you. It interprets the world through your past, your wounds, your fears. That means your first impression is often wrong. Your assumptions about people are often wrong. Your memories, which you trust so deeply, are often distorted. And your beliefs, especially the ones you're most proud of, are often built on incomplete information. Instead of seeing this as a failure, see it as a gift. Because if there is always something you don't know, then there is always something new you can become. People suffer because they fear uncertainty. Yet uncertainty is the birthplace of everything meaningful. When you admit you don't know, you give yourself permission to explore, to question, to discover. You stop judging everything so quickly. You stop labeling people based on one moment or one mistake. You stop assuming you understand someone's intentions when you barely understand your own. Suddenly, the world becomes less threatening because you're no longer forcing it to fit inside the narrow frame of what you think you know. Many of the darkest behaviors humans are capable of, cruelty, prejudice, violence, come from false certainty. People who are absolutely convinced they are right can justify anything, even harm. They build an identity around being morally superior, intellectually superior, or spiritually superior, and that identity protects them from the discomfort of doubt. But doubt is exactly what keeps us human. When you are willing to question yourself, you soften. You become more compassionate because you recognize that your view is only one view. Your truth only one angle of a much larger reality. Accepting that you are always wrong also transforms how you handle your problems. Instead of blaming life or blaming others, you start asking better questions. Not why is this happening to me, but what am I not seeing yet? Not who is at fault, but what belief is no longer serving me. Growth is not about adding more knowledge. It is about letting go of the false certainty that blocks you from understanding your own life more clearly. And strangely, admitting you're wrong gives you more confidence, not less. People think confidence comes from believing you're right. In reality, confidence comes from knowing you can handle being wrong. When you aren't afraid of making mistakes, you take more action. When you aren't terrified of uncertainty, you take more risks. When you aren't obsessed with protecting your ego, you open yourself to new possibilities. Confidence built on being right is fragile. Confidence built on the willingness to be wrong is unbreakable. This mindset also changes your relationships. When you assume you might be wrong, you listen more deeply. You stop preparing your rebuttal while the other person is speaking. You stop projecting your insecurities onto their words. You stop assuming you know their intentions. You begin meeting people as they truly are, not as the characters your mind invented. Humility becomes the foundation of connection, because nothing builds intimacy faster than the willingness to say, "Teach me, help me understand you." The older you get, the more you realize how much of your life was shaped by beliefs you never chose. Beliefs from your family, your culture, your childhood fears. Letting go of these old beliefs can feel like letting go of yourself. But unless you allow your identity to evolve, you end up trapped inside a version of yourself that no longer fits. Growth requires shedding. Maturity requires questioning. Freedom requires surrendering the illusion of certainty. Imagine carrying around a box labeled "Who I Am." Inside are your opinions, your habits, your political beliefs, your insecurities, your values. Most people spend their lives defending this box, but wisdom comes when you begin opening it, taking things out, examining them, letting go of the ones that no longer serve you. Sometimes you discover that entire parts of your identity were built from fear, from pain, from misunderstanding, and when you let them go, you don't lose yourself. You uncover a more authentic version of yourself. To grow is to be wrong over and over again, at deeper and deeper levels. There is no finish line. There is no final version of you. You are a process, not a product. The most dangerous thing you can believe is that you have arrived. The most liberating thing you can accept is that you never will. And that is the beauty of it. Because as long as you remain open, curious, humble, and willing to be wrong, you will continue to evolve into someone wiser, kinder, and more alive. Growth does not come from being right. Growth comes from being willing to question everything you think you know. That is how transformation begins. That is how wisdom is built. And that is how you become the kind of person who is not defined by certainty, but by consciousness. There is a moment in every person's life when death stops being an abstract concept and suddenly becomes real. It might be the loss of someone we love, a near miss in traffic, an unexpected diagnosis, or even just a quiet night alone when the mind confronts the truth we often avoid. In that moment, life feels different. Time feels different. Our priorities rearrange themselves without permission, because nothing strips away illusion faster than remembering that one day, everything we cling to will be gone, including us. People spend years chasing achievements, money, validation, status, attention. We compare ourselves endlessly, justify our choices, defend our egos, and worry about opinions that won't matter a month from now. But the instant we stare into the idea of our own mortality, all of it collapses. Suddenly, the things we thought were important feel embarrassingly small. The arguments we held on to feel pointless. The expectations we tried to meet feel hollow. And beneath all that noise, something simple emerges, a clear understanding of what truly matters. Death is not the enemy we imagine it to be. It is the mirror that forces us to see life honestly. It is the quiet teacher reminding us that time is limited, that moments are precious, and that pretending we'll live forever makes us waste the only life we have. When we run from the thought of death, we become careless with our days. But when we face it, we begin to live with intention. We start choosing what matters instead of letting external noise choose for us. Most people live as if they will always have later. I'll pursue my dream later. I'll fix that relationship later. I'll say sorry later. I'll take care of my health later. But later is a trick of the mind. Later belongs to those who believe they are exempt from the human condition. Death reminds us that nobody is exempt. And as frightening as that is, it is also liberating because it brings honesty back into our lives. When you remember you will die, you stop lying to yourself. You stop pretending to be someone you're not. You stop letting fear make your decisions. You stop tolerating relationships that shrink you and habits that drain you. The awareness of death does not make you negative. It makes you authentic. It brings a kind of clarity that comfort could never give you. Think about the people who have faced near-death experiences or survived tragedies. They often describe a similar transformation. Their priorities shift, their gratitude deepens, their presence intensifies, they stop postponing love, They stop postponing forgiveness. They stop postponing living. Why? Because nothing clarifies your values like seeing how temporary everything is. Death forces you to ask the questions you spend your whole life avoiding. What would matter if today were your last day? Who would you want to become? What footprints would you want to leave? How would you treat the people around you if you knew you'd never see them again? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are the only ones that truly matter. Ironically, accepting death is what allows us to live without fear. Fear is always rooted in loss. Fear of failure, fear of humiliation, fear of rejection, fear of change. But when you understand that the ultimate loss is inevitable, everything else becomes smaller. You stop being paralyzed by embarrassment. You stop being controlled by insecurity. You stop letting the opinions of strangers dictate your choices. Because you realize, in the end, none of that will matter. What will matter is whether you lived a life that was honest, meaningful, and true to yourself. Death also reveals the difference between pleasure and meaning. Pleasure fades quickly. Meaning deepens with time. Pleasure makes us want more. Meaning makes us grateful for what we already have. Pleasure distracts. Meaning grounds. And when you remember your time is limited, you naturally stop chasing pleasures that numb you and start seeking meaning that fulfills you. This shift changes everything. You begin investing in relationships that matter instead of wasting energy on those that drain you. You start focusing on contribution instead of comparison. You become generous with your love, your time, your attention, because you understand that giving is the only thing that truly lasts. You realize that successes will fade, failures will be forgotten, and the only thing people remember is how you made them feel, how you showed up, how you lived. Death isn't there to terrify you. It's there to wake you up. It's there to remind you that today is rare, that this moment is precious, that the people you love are not guaranteed to remain beside you, and that you too are temporary, a visitor, not an owner in this life. When you accept this, life becomes richer. Sunlight feels warmer. Conversations feel deeper. Small joys begin to matter. You stop rushing through your days and instead begin to inhabit them. You stop waiting for some perfect future to begin living because you understand that now is the only thing you will ever have. Death is not the end of meaning, it is the source of meaning. Without it, nothing would matter. Without it, time wouldn't matter. Without it, choices wouldn't matter. It is the limitation of life that gives life its beauty. So let death be a reminder, not of fear, but of priority. Not of despair, but of purpose. Not of endings, but of the urgency to live fully while you still can. When you remember that your time is finite, you finally begin to spend it on what truly matters. In the end, everything we explored leads to a single, unshakable truth. Much of our suffering begins not with life itself, but with the illusions we cling to. The illusion that we must always be right. The illusion that happiness comes from avoiding problems instead of facing the right ones. The illusion that responsibility is a burden, when in fact it is the birthplace of freedom. And finally, the illusion that life is endless, that time will always stretch far enough for us to fix, change, create, or become what we dream of. But the moment we strip those illusions away, life begins to feel lighter, clearer, and strangely more real. When you let go of the need to be special, you become free to simply be honest. When you stop chasing certainty, you open the door to curiosity, growth, and genuine connection. When you accept responsibility instead of assigning blame, the world stops happening to you and begins happening through you. And when you confront the reality of death, not as a threat, but as a reminder, you awaken to the quiet miracle of being alive right now. Life stops being something you perform for approval and becomes something you experience with intention. Everything meaningful comes from choosing wisely what to care about. Not caring about everything, not chasing every desire, not defending every belief, but caring deeply about the few things that align with your values, your purpose, your truth. This is where real happiness hides, in solving meaningful problems, in building honest relationships, in embracing uncertainty, in accepting responsibility, in living with the awareness that each day is borrowed time. If there is one lesson to take with you, it is this: your life becomes the moment you decide to live it consciously. Not through fear, Not through autopilot, not through inherited expectations, but through deliberate, present, wholehearted choices. You do not need permission. You do not need perfect circumstances. You do not need certainty. You only need the willingness to face reality as it is and the courage to act anyway. To apply this in your daily life, start small. Notice when you are reacting from fear instead of clarity. Notice when you are blaming instead of taking ownership. Notice when you are avoiding discomfort instead of stepping into growth. Notice the moments you take for granted and treat them with gratitude. You don't need to overhaul your life. You only need to return to yourself, moment by moment, with a little more honesty and a little less illusion. Before you go, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What is one illusion in your life that you feel ready to let go of? Please share your reflections in the comments so others can learn from your perspective as well. And if you found value in this journey, consider subscribing to the channel. Your support gives me the motivation to continue creating meaningful content for you.